All right, we have some people on Facebook. So I think we'll just go ahead and kick it off now. So thank you all for being here with us this morning. We have a pretty popular topic. We're going to be talking about reopening with Anthony Anton of the Washington Hospitality Association. So he'll be talking about a lot of really important things. And it's important to know that we are still in phase 1. So as we discuss these things, it's always important to remember we're in phase 1 and not yet in phase 2. These are just guidelines, and we're going to be talking about steps to take to prepare for it. So when phase 2 does roll around, you are ready to hit the ground rolling. So hit the ground running. So I just want to say quickly thank you to STCU for assisting with this program. They have been incredibly helpful in helping us transition to a physical workshop to a virtual workshop, and we look forward to offering more of these in the future. So with that, I'll make sure to invite everyone. If you have a question, feel free to submit that in the chat box below, and we'll watch those as they come in. And if you're on Facebook, submit a question or comment through there, and we will make sure to address those. But I will go ahead and turn it over to Anthony and let him take it from here.
Hey, Logan, thanks so much for having me on. Logan and the Tri-City Chambers have asked me to come on board and kind of walk through what restaurants need to do to get open and be, as you see on your screen, ready to serve. Everything I'm going to walk through with you today, I've made available to the chamber, or if you want to put your email in the chat, I can send you directly. But all of this is also going to be available on what we're calling our Corona Hub. So if you see this website right here, and I'll even paste it in the chat, all of the links you're going to see are available there. So our Corona Hub starts with just basically all the questions you might have, whether you're in restaurants or in lodging for reopening, and a bunch of different elements here. Also, what's available to restaurants and lodging for relief packages, for employee support and common employee questions, common FAQs, what's been declared in my area, what does the health department want me to do, and what does liquor control board want me to do, and outside of the laws, what are some of the best practices that other people are doing, and what can I be aware? So we created this special hub just for all things COVID, because it's been the spring and hopefully not the summer of COVID. With that, I'd like to walk through some of the resources available to you. As you have questions, please put them in the chat room, and at the end, what I intend to do is get through with the content about 20 minutes or so, and then just be wide open for questions, because honestly, that's usually where the best information is shared. That being said, we do have a restaurant reopening guide and all the requirements for restaurants reopening. And in this guide has a lot of the different things that you would need to be aware of, and that you would need to look through. What I want to walk through is the requirements of restaurants in phase 2. And a lot of these are very basic and they're straightforward. The hand sanitizer being in the front lobby, no bar seating. However, that's created a lot of confusion as we've gone around the state. It's actually bar top seating. So think of the bar stool and sitting in front of your bartender at the bar top. That's the seating prohibited, not the bar itself. You can still have a lounge, you can still have a bar. That is still fine. The bar seating has also confused people because it also applies to diners. So if you have a diner where you have bar stools and they sit at that bar top right across to the cook or the server making the food, that is also prohibited during phase 2. And that's caused a lot of confusion. So when we get to the question and answers, please ask me more questions about that. Because when we do get the Tri-Cities open, and I'm hoping that soon, I want to have you be ready to serve. Phase 2 is guests or 5 or fewer. It's pretty straightforward. but you will want to train your servers what happens if a family of 6 comes in. And unfortunately, you're going to have to break that up. And so whether it's the adult table, the kids table, or some other way, you are going to have to set your tables just simply for 5 or fewer. The next piece has caused the second biggest point of confusion, which is 50% of maximum building occupancy is what is required. A lot of people has assumed that's mean their seating, and it's not your current seating. So work with if you don't have a number that's right outside your door of your building that says this business has an occupancy of X, and many do, but if you don't, go find your fire permit and look up your occupancy. Often, but not always, occupancy is quite a bit higher than your actual seats. So before you start anything, determine that number. For some restaurants, the seats and the occupancy are the same, and this means this requirement is much harder to meet. For some restaurants, your occupancy, because of the layout of the building and the access to doors, is sometimes 2 or 3 times higher than your actual seating, and so that makes this requirement easier. But it has caused a lot of confusion, and people started counting seats versus looking up the fire department occupancy. Probably the biggest challenge in making your business work is how to get tables either 6 feet apart or with barriers. Phase 2 does allow for barriers, but if you can't do barriers, the back of your guests has to be, or your guests have to be 6 feet apart from the next table. And so doing that layout has to be very thoughtful. Many people have done plexiglass or extended booths or other ways. There is no hard requirement on how high that barrier has to be. The general rule of thumb is kind of above your average guest's head. And we haven't had anyone had a complaint when it's been that high. We haven't had any health department or liquor control board or L&I complaints about the physical barriers. At this point in time, and we'll see how this goes, your guests are not required to wear masks. It is strongly suggested. You're going to see on our materials, we ask guests to wear masks in, but that's not a requirement. You know how to treat your guests. You know you have your relationship with your guests, and they do have the option, but guests are not required. Buffets, salad bars, other self-service elements are not allowed at this time. And I'm going through some of the other things that I get a lot of questions about versus walking through all of this. The other piece I would say is single-use menus are required, but even though it says that, you can use other things like QR codes. I've seen several places use QR codes for menus. I've also seen people use rolling boards or other creative ways. What we're really trying to do is stop the guest touching a menu and then handing it off to the next guest. And so however how you can prohibit that is really what the health department and the governor are looking for. As far as workers go, and then I'm going to move on from this, your workers are required to wear masks. They're cloth masks, so there's some confusion on masks out there. Any mask really that prohibits respiratory droplets from getting out is all we're looking for. They can be anything from my cougar mask here, as simple, to a medical mask. I've actually been recommending, not as a product, but some of these kind of masks for the kitchen, because these can actually, you put cold water on them and it can keep your cooks cool. Because we have had some instances with some cooks of overheating with cloth masks on. So I would spend some time before you get open finding the right thing for you. There have been businesses who brought their servers in, or some other folks, and did a mask making event. So they had masks to go through reopening. Common question I get is on gloves. Are my servers required to wear gloves? The answer is no, but they are required to do increased hand washing. I grew up in restaurants. I know them intimately. And we all know that your servers or your busters are grabbing dishes, taking them back, putting them in the kitchen. Now you actually have to think about washing your hands between each one of those because of the next time you go. So figure out for yourself what's the best option, whether it's gloves or increased hand washing. I'll tell you, the health department would prefer increased hand washing in most counties. And I think from an industry standpoint, we all know that hand washing is usually the best way to go, but choose what works best for you. I will say that in other counties, servers without gloves have had guest pushbacks, but it's not a legal requirement. So you might want to be listening to your guests as you reopen, what their reaction is and what their comfort levels are. So those are some of the big requirements. I intend to go over more questions as we go. I want to show you a couple of other things in the document or the association has available to you. You are required to have a reopening checklist. You can download this right from our site. We've co-branded this with the State Department of Health. It's a very simple checklist to make sure that everything is working. I'm going to say something that if you're an industry veteran, you're going to roll your eyes and say, of course I would do that. But you know, we have a lot of people who see this industry as a point of opportunity and haven't been in the industry for 20 years. So make sure you flush your water system. And that is an area where for some of the independents or the less experienced operators, get in there the week before and turn every pipe on, and particularly if you're in an older building. That is an area where if your water's been in ice machines, been sitting for a long time, or other areas that we could make people sick. So we want to make sure that we are taking care of that, and we've cleaned out everything. We've flushed all water through the system so we don't let anyone get sick. Short of that, I think everything else you would be common sense to you, but this serves as the health department's pre-opening checklist. So if the health department or L&I comes in and says, where is your plan for opening? You can say, here's my pre-opening checklist. And it should be simple for you. We've also got the operations is one side. We also want to get the public very, very comfortable that we are ready to serve. And so we've developed this logo and this brand, really trying to get the public comfortable with. If the government opens this but no one comes out, that's not going to do us any good. So we have window clingings that you can print off and tape in your window, letting your guests know what you've done to be ready to serve and what your commitment is, but then also reminding them of what we're asking the guests to do. We also have different signs you can put around the restaurant asking your guests to be safe, and reminders of what ready to serve means and what we're doing. And so to the degree that you can put this on social media when you're ready to serve, that you can take pictures of what you've done to separate tables, your lobby management area, or other things, I think that would be great. What we're trying to build community confidence that they can come into our businesses and really feel comfortable and safe, even in this environment. A couple of other resources I wanted to point out, but then Logan, I'm going to pause and then ask some questions to go from there. The association has been interviewing most of the government agencies from that are involved in this, in the governor's office and Liquor Control Board. And so we've developed a series of webinars to help you get reopened. They're all available on that same website. But oftentimes you don't want to sit through an hour and 30-minute webinar. So we've also taken the opportunity, if you don't want to sit through that, we've broken most of these webinars into subsections. And so if you want to hear what L&I said about the 6-foot separation, or the health department said about single-use menus, you can watch these in little 4 or 5 minute sections and just watch the stuff that you need to know. So I wanted to walk everyone through the guidelines that we had, but really I think the best content is in question and answers. So what can I do to answer questions so you feel ready to serve? Logan, do you want to kind of tell me the questions you've got in the chat box so far?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So right now, again, everyone, feel free to use the Q&A box in Zoom, but we do have a question that came through on Facebook. Um, Carol is asking if you or Washington Hospitality, will you guys be inspecting businesses?
No. So the people who will be inspecting businesses, technically, L&I is in charge of enforcing this. That being said, state government's kind of taking this. We're all in this together. So the Liquor Control Board and the Health Department will respond to complaints. L&I is not heavily staffed compared to the Health Department. And so you're going to see, let's call it a cooperative effort between those three agencies. And they almost kind of seem to be by area of which has done the most reporting. The biggest regulator we've seen out there, honestly, has been social media. In the areas that have gone to phase two, um, social media has been brutal, and so I'm less worried for our businesses about government regulation for not compliance than I am of the impact to your brand and the impact of are you safe to eat at and do you care about safety. And I'm saying that from witnessing different social media posts and the reaction from people within the community to those social media posts. So I would really encourage um, people to think through that side of it and how to comply.
Okay. And I guess to add on to that question, something that I was just thinking of is, do you know if those agencies are offering like a risk-free inspection if a business owner is unsure if they meet the guidelines or if they are compliant? Are they able to get like a free risk or risk-free visit from an agency?
I would say that's going to depend on your local health department, so I would check with them. Often, health departments do have the ability to make that request, and I think today, in a heightened sense of public safety, I'm hoping they would say yes. L&I does have a free inspection service that they do offer that you can call and say, I'd like to get an inspection. Again, L&I does not have the staff functionally as as the Liquor Control Board and the Health Department does. And so I think if you have a good relationship with your health inspector or a good relationship with your liquor inspector, say, hey, before I get open, can you come take a look? I'm also willing, the association here is like all these services are available to everyone, member or not member. So if you have a question of can I do this or can I do that, please ask. Even if we don't know the question, the reality is there's some other operator out there who will have the same question, so we can go get it legally answered and then get back to you.
Perfect. And I will just add, in the time leading up to this webinar, I've looked at your guys' Washington Hospitality's website, and you guys have a ton of resources. So if anyone is watching and you're wondering, check their website out. There's a ton of information on there and resources. Another question on Facebook, Heather is asking the cooling mask that you referred to, where would you purchase something like that?
We're not endorsing a brand, and so I want to be careful that from that. This one, if you look up cooling masks online or something from that, this one I have here. I gave it to my teenager, and I said I want you because he runs every day, and I said I want you to wear a mask and I want you to go on your 5 mile run, and he actually loved it because he kept his face cool. The downside of these masks is they don't look like hospitality. So if I put it on, I mean, it looks like I'm more likely to be robbing you than I am to really be excited to see you in our operation. That being said, your cooks aren't forward facing, and your cooks, we all know. I've been a line cook. I've grown up in restaurants. We all know the heat that can come from a kitchen, and not every cook is in great shape. So these are allowed to spray water on. I would just look them up. Again, not necessarily public facing, but I do think there's other answers. I am trying to order other masks in and get other ideas. The downside with cloth masks, and I'm a cougar, so of course someone sent me a cougar mask. Go Cougs, but these are thick and they're not simple to breathe through. And so I think you really have to keep an eye on what works for you and the breathability. And if anyone has ideas, I'm still looking for good masks for glasses. So Logan, I wear glasses too.
Oh
And I
yeah,
think
it's a struggle.
and we're having some issues with servers with masks who really need the glasses and fogging up. So there are some lower cut ones. I've ordered some other masks that have the ventilation things in them. But if anyone comes up with a great answer, let's all share with each other and learn from each other, because
Yeah,
that's one
Heather,
area where I don't have a good answer yet.
Heather, I'll just add on to that. I think the mask that Anthony has, I think you can get that at most outdoor stores have those. A lot of people use them when they're skiing, and because they can also, keep your neck warm. And then I'll also just share the fogging with the glasses. You can purchase anti-fog spray or anti-fog cloth wipes that also work. So I think we're all just learning a little bit right now about what works and what doesn't. So
yeah, this material is basically that same material that the teenagers will wear from that stretchy t-shirt material. And then when I went online, I think there's 10 or 11 different brands who offer this kind of thing. What other questions can I answer?
I think that's, oh, we have another one. So Carol on Facebook is asking, why wear those and not face shields?
I think it's a matter of who you are and your business. And so the answer is some might be great for face shields. If you work in a grill that's got a lot of spark to it, you're going to have that grease build up on your shield. And how do you clean that over a fast shift? But if you don't have that kind of grill, you're in a different area, a face shield might be a great answer. So I think what we're learning here is you're going to have to play with your environment, your kitchen, to find your right answer. For some areas, yeah, I think face shields will be a fine answer. But I think for others, because of splatter, grease, other things that occur in a kitchen, it may not be your answer. So I think if you think it might be an option, give it a try.
Perfect. And
Logan, a couple of the things I want to cover while more questions come in.
Mhm.
If I were an operator in the Tri-Cities and I'm getting ready to serve, I would want to know what's been the biggest headaches that have occurred in the other communities that have been open. And by far and away, there's one answer, and that's the lobby. If you're trying to keep guests 6 feet apart, and you've got it all marked out, but you have guests that aren't used to where to stand or used to coming in or are anxious to be served, and they start crowding that has been the picture that's most shown up on social media. That's been the picture that, particularly in that first week while your staff and your guests get used to the fact that they can't just wait in the lobby, has been the biggest challenge. And so if there's an area that I would overthink a little bit after where I put my tables or how I space my tables, it'd be my lobby. And if you have an open parking lot, not every downtown location does, but if you can ask guests to wait in your car and you'll text them when they're ready, that's an option. If you have an overhang where people can line down the side, in the summer, this will be a good option. Hopefully we're out of this thing come colder times. But that's the area that's been the biggest headache so far, because guests are coming in and kind of standing, waiting to be next, but not knowing where to go. And it is creating a violation of kind of what we're hoping to accomplish.
Perfect. Another question is, there is a lot of talk about a modified phase 1 or phase 1.5. What does phase 1.5 look like for restaurants?
Well, there was what was originally put out, and then there was some things that were put out later. But let's go with the governor's original announcement. I think the governor's office has been open to something less than 50%, and that has the original proposal was not what King County adopted, and the governor's office worked with them to find an answer for that one. What he originally proposed was 25%, and then allowing for more outdoor seating. And so again, depending on your fire department and your building, what your occupancy is, 25% occupancy for some businesses will work because your fire department occupancy is so much higher than your actual seating. For some places, outdoor seating will work because you have large parking lots that are relatively not full right now. And if you actively, I'd encourage the local chamber to work with the health departments and the city on allowing for outdoor seating, because there's been a lot of success in some communities that have had good weather on moving their guests outside. And that can happen in a negotiated, modified less than two. That being said, for a lot of businesses, 25% for a restaurant. If you don't have a high occupancy number from your fire department, it's more of a 1-to-1 ratio. 25% of your seats just doesn't work. And for some businesses, 50% of their seats just doesn't work. And so we need to get you to phase 2 as soon as we can. But for some businesses, it's better than a kick in the head.
Perfect. I don't see any other questions coming in through Facebook or in Zoom. Everyone's staying fairly quiet. Do you have
I would
any?
that I'll comment. Yeah. Sorry about that, Logan. Didn't mean to cut you off. I think this branding of being ready to serve is really important. I have seen a lot of public polling and a lot of the status of, beyond our economics, there's also the economy itself that's now starting to put into play about how much people come back to restaurants. It's really important that we build this brand that restaurants are ready to serve, we're safe to eat at. As you have put up plexiglass in between tables, as you have done something creative. I saw one restaurant put like movie cardboard cutouts between the table or at the empty tables. I've seen just some really creative stuff going on out there. Put them on your social media, send them to your chamber so your chamber can promote ready to serve. Put these logos that you see up on the screen on your Facebook, in your restaurant windows. And again, if you want to, it's not about our logo. I'm just trying to build that public confidence that hospitality is getting ready to serve. And when we open, it'll be safe to do so. Operators will see a surge in that first week because people are beyond excited to get out initially. After that, I think it's that second and third week that you're going to see normalization. And we want, outside of that initial surge, your business to be coming back and there to be high confidence in your business. So help us help you by branding your community as really taking this seriously and really being safe to eat at. Any other questions that have come in, Logan?
We did have another question pop up. Carol is asking about air filtration systems. Do we need to pay special attention to those, or?
If you're asking for a consumer perspective, honestly, the standards that the governor's office has put out, I'm comfortable with. I do think there are people who put in some special air filtration systems out of wants to do the above and beyond the right thing, and I would promote and if you've done that, I would promote what you've done. That being said, it's not a requirement, and it's more of an extra safeguard. I think your guests always like extra safeguards, but it's not a requirement.
Perfect. And I think that wraps it up. We didn't have any other questions that rolled in at all. Can you think of any key takeaways before we wrap up?
If I were opening my restaurants today, again, I would really build my social media of all the things that I've done. I think the other thing we really haven't talked about is I would think through my business model. Is the business model that I had in November, December, the same one that's going to be through the rest of 2020? What are my price points? What is my menu complication? What are the changes that I've been wanting to make for years, but haven't had the time to make them? Make them. Now's the time. I think the other thing is be open to technology maybe that you weren't before. I think I saw a diner over here in the South King County area that has, most of their clientele is 50 plus, and they went to QR codes. And I'm like, really? Is an older generation really going to be willing to get to their table and then scan the QR code and bring a menu up? And they've been having great luck with it. They have paper menus in case, but they're now getting their guests to scan their menus. In theory, it's now just a small step from them scanning a menu and ordering from the table as we build that confidence. So don't be afraid to make some of those improvements right now, both for efficiency and for where your business is going. Logan, I really appreciate being on. The chamber has all this information. If anyone would like to get these links directly, they can email, or they can go to the association's website right here, or email Logan, and Logan, we can I'll pass on the links to you.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Anthony. I know you are slammed right now working through all of this. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free. I mean, we can figure something out, but the Washington Hospitality Association website is an excellent resource for information. And I also just wanted to mention we have the TC Open and Safe website that's housed on the TricityRegionalChamber.com website. We have a bunch of resources on there. And if you're looking specifically for restaurants, you'll want to make sure that you look under phase 2. And I just want to again remind everyone, we understand we're still in phase 1, but we just want to make sure you guys are ready to hit the ground running when phase 2 does come around. So with that, I will go ahead and thank you again. Oh, sorry, we had one more question come in. So Carol is asking about Sparse Eating. So if you shield or place a shield in between bar stools, are you able to get around bar seating, or is that restricted completely?
One, every business layout is different. I mean, we've got 15,000 restaurants in Washington, and we probably have close to 12,000 layouts. So in a strict reading of the rule, bar top seating is prohibited. If you think you have a way, because of your layout, to protect guests, talk to your local health department. So I think generally the answer is going to be no in 80% of situations. So I don't want to give you hope. But if you really believe you have a safe way to serve guests, talk to your health department. The health department always has the ability to work with you. And we can see where that goes from there. Yeah, I think that's what I would say on that one. And again, a lot of people are misunderstanding no bar seating as meaning they have to close their lounge. That's not true. If you have bar stools that face outside windows, those are fine. If you have tables in the middle of your bar can be open. Again, they just have to respect 6-foot distancing between groups of guests, and go from there. And again, if there's not any other questions, promote ready to serve. Please manage the lobby. That's going to be your biggest challenge. The health department, or the social media is a bigger threat to impact your business than the agencies. And it just takes one person to snap a picture and hurt your community brand. So I would be ready for that. This is a whole new world we live in that every mistake seems to end up online. So I would prepare myself to watch for that in a heightened awareness area. And anything else we can do to serve or ask questions, we want to be helpful so you can get open. I'm excited to get over to the Tri-Cities and visit some of my favorite restaurants.
Well, perfect. Anthony, thank you. Thank you everyone for being here and visiting, and have a great day.
Thank you, Logan. Good luck, everybody.